There's no business like show business. From actors, writers, directors, and behind-the-scenes crew, everyone loves being part of the biz, and everybody loves those Hollywood stories. My name is Bob McCullough. I'm married to Suzanne Herrera McCullough, and between the two of us, we've got over 200 hours writing, producing, directing, or acting in some of the most classic television series and movies of all time. We've had pretty high-profile careers working with a wide range of celebrity talent and helping beginners get their start in the business, so people have always told us we should write a book. Well, we think getting our story out this way could be a lot more fun, so let's jump in.
Chicken joke! I'm Mrs. Cleaver.
From Television City in Hollywood.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller plays.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology.
Nanu.
Baby, you're the great.
Here comes the judge.
Small cowbell.
Not special.
There's anything wrong with that. And now for something completely different.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know.
Hi, everybody. This is Where Hollywood Hides, podcast episode number 13. My name is Bob McCullough.
And my name is Suzanne Herrera McCullough.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. If you go to our website at wherehollywoodhides.com, you will see a little thing up in the upper right-hand corner where you can get a free audiobook download at Audible, my French is wanting, at audibletrial.com/wherehollywoodhides. And you'll find over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. I don't know about anybody else, but for commuters, there's nothing like books on tape. And of course, everything is now on your MP3 or your iPhone. So please go to wherehollywoodhides.com, look at the audible.com logo, click on it, and you'll get a free download. That alone is worth about $15.
Well, I'm glad this is podcast 13.
Lucky 13.
I am so happy not to be talking about myself.
Oh, right. Well, we did have fun dealing with your career last time.
You actually got 2 podcasts out of me. It's amazing.
You know, you're probably not aware of it, but those 2 podcasts talking about you and your acting career, they were the most listened to podcasts of the entire series so far.
Are you sure it wasn't just friends and family?
Do friends and family live in South Africa, Australia, Lithuania?
You never know.
I think people really want to know about acting and actresses a lot.
Well, I appreciate all our comments. I got tremendous response from a lot of people appreciating my truth in telling how it was for me anyway. It was a lot of fun. And I also got a couple comments. They asked if we like to drink a glass of wine before each podcast. And you know why they said that?
Why?
It's because we had a laughing fit.
Oh, well.
In podcast 12. And I just want to let our viewers know that occasionally we have some wine, but so far we have never had a glass of anything except water and coffee for our podcast.
Yeah, we don't do these things drunk, but we do have fun.
Maybe we should.
Really. Well, today I'm having coffee with a little bit of coconut milk, so that's my
yum.
My extravagance.
I also wanted to bring up the fact that we added a new category to our website called music.
Right.
50 years ago, there was such an abundance of music that came out between the Beatles and the Stones and the bands. And
well, the fun thing about our music is that it really did change society, to a great degree back in the 60s and 70s.
You know, Rolling Stones magazine just came out with a special edition. They have listed categories like the 100 greatest guitar players, the 100 greatest songs of all time, 50 greatest hits, and 160 greatest Beatles songs.
Am I named as one of the great guitar players?
But to show you that Beatles
right.
were huge.
Oh,
they named the Stones as well, but the Beatles were huge, which brings me to my point that who is better? Are you a Stone or a Beatle?
Well, I know I'm a Stone and you're a Beatle.
Yes, but Beatles, they turned that music into classical music.
Well, it's really pop music more than rock and roll. And I'm a rock and roll kind of guy. In Los Angeles, the station KFWB played all the contemporary music. And
that's going way back.
Way back. And there was a DJ named Bill Balance, who was huge at the time. And I remember listening to the radio, and he said, this is going to be the greatest group of all time.
The Beatles?
And he played I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Oh, I love that song.
And I listened to that song, and I said to myself, if this ever becomes a hit song or these guys ever make it, I will never listen to the radio again. Well, of course, I was pretty wrong.
But you were coming off of Elvis.
I was coming off of
So
Elvis
anything
and
next
Buddy
to
Guy.
Elvis was soft. That was my first band, my first music, because I'm a little younger than you are.
A lot, yes.
And Beatles
My Child
was
Bride.
Unbelievable. They had such long hair. It was so funny. We thought it was such long hair in those days for the Beatles.
Right.
Anyway, I must say that I have really, and I'm going to really enjoy the research that we do in terms of music and old TV and movies.
Well, what's
it's
fun?
a lot of fun.
The fact is that everybody can relate to music in one form or another.
Moving along, what are we going to do today?
Well, today I thought we would talk about my great career failure. As you may recall, I was working for Aaron Spelling under contract and had had a lot of success, had come off of Falcon Crest, a number of pilots and movies of the week, and for Aaron had done Hollywood Wives, which was a 5-hour miniseries, became the most watched dramatic show in the history of television up to that point.
That's true. It was. It was very exciting.
So I was riding high, had the big office, the nice secretary, all the perks in the
The
world.
limousine.
I
Is
had
that embarrassing or what?
Today it's embarrassing, but we did have a nice limousine. A
white limousine.
A 40-foot long Cadillac.
Oh, my God.
But it was white, so it was kind of I don't know. People thought I was Rod Stewart.
Well, you were riding in the limousine as well. So
Right. We were pretty busy, and I really didn't have time to drive my own car. So
those were the 80s for sure.
Exactly, the excessive 80s. While I was under contract, Aaron came to me with a project that had been written. They had a first draft of a script written by Anthony and Nancy Lawrence, and it was called Dark Mansions. I'd never heard of the project before, and I was never really one who was into gothic stuff or ghost stories or vampires.
Which, by the way, is huge right now.
Listen,
again.
it's been huge for 20 years, I guess. I'm just still not much of a fan of it, but because I'd done Falcon Crest and it had a lot of dark stuff to it and a lot of family intrigue, and this script, Dark Mansions, involved a family kind of at war with itself. So I was brought in to help the script and make it something they could shoot, because ABC, who was ostensibly going to air the thing, really didn't care for the script the Lawrences had put together. And they hadn't really done any casting at that point. So I did a complete rewrite of the script, and we got a green light. And at that point, the casting process began. And one of the primary character, Margaret Drake, who is the matriarch of a family, a shipbuilding family up in Seattle, Washington, who wanted her life story written and hired a ghost writer, who was ultimately played by Linda Pearl. The character of Margaret Drake was uncast. And as you know, Aaron was heavily into stunt casting. He wanted major movie stars.
And he could get them.
Well, and he had a number of shows on the air in which he would almost audition them. Love Boat and Hotel, things like that, where he could give them little vignettes and see how they would work. Dynasties, and see how they would work in terms of the television audience. So Duke Vincent, who was one of Aaron's partners, came to me and said, hey, we want to go after Loretta Young. Now, Loretta Young was a huge movie star back in the 40s, and she had had her own anthology television series in the 50s, just like Jane Wyman did.
And Ronald Reagan.
Right. So Duke arranged for me to meet with Loretta Young, and he and I went up to her house up on Lexington and Roxbury Drive in Beverly Hills. And I may have told this story in an earlier episode, but I just want to clarify something, because there's a lot of stuff on the internet about how Loretta Young refused to do the role because she didn't like the script. Well, Loretta Young never saw the script, and point of fact. We went up and had a meeting with her just to kind of suss her out, see what she was like, and have her meet me, because I was one of the producers, and I was going to tell her the story of the script. So we go have a meeting, and it was something out of the movies. Her butler opens the front door, and she comes down a sweeping staircase, just like she did in her TV show, with her pleated skirt twirling, and she was completely made up and quite glamorous for a woman in her 70s.
Well, was a major movie star.
She was a big deal. Oh, absolutely. So we sit and we have tea. I think we had like cucumber sandwiches and mint tea, and I began telling her the story of the script, trying to convince her to do the show. And she interrupts me and she says, "Excuse me, Robert, do you know how to pray?" And I didn't realize that she was a serious, devoted Catholic.
Be careful, I'm Catholic.
Right.
Don't badmouth us.
Next thing I look at Duke Vincent like, what is she talking about? And he kind of looks the other way and just lets me run with it. Before I know it, I'm on the floor next to Loretta Young on my knees, and she's teaching me how to genuflect properly. And that goes on for about 15 minutes.
I couldn't even get you to do that.
It was something, I couldn't have made it up. At the end of the meeting, she says, "Oh, I love the idea of playing Margaret Drake, and I love your story. I just want to be sure that God is properly represented." And I said, "Well, I can do that. No problem. Nothing wrong with a little Christianity.
You'd say anything to get her signed.
I would say anything to get out of her house because it was getting really creepy. So Duke and I get back in the car.
Did you have a good laugh?
I look at Duke and I say, "Did you see what I saw?" And Duke said, "Yeah, I think we have a problem." We went.
That's nicely put.
Well, Duke is a master of euphemism. After all, he's a very successful producer, very smooth and articulate guy. We go back to Aaron's spectacular office. We have a meeting with Aaron, and I explain to him that Loretta Young has a certain perspective, and Duke interrupts me and he says, "Aaron, it's not going to work. She's nuts."
Oh, God.
And maybe he didn't say nuts, but he said it's going to be a real problem. And
Sure, because you have to work with this actress every day.
so Aaron's problem was he had already spoken with her agent,
Sure.
Norman Brokaw, who was a big Hollywood agent, and there was already publicity out that we were going after Loretta Young. It was in the trade papers, and now what are we going to do? So Aaron agreed with Norman Brokaw to allow them to put the statement out first that she simply didn't care for the property.
The truth finally comes out.
Yeah, so Aaron was very political. He didn't say she's crazy and we could never work with her. He let her people.
Classy guy.
Yeah, very classy, very classy. So the casting process went forward, and we wound up getting an Academy Award winner, Joan Fontaine.
I didn't get a chance to audition for this.
Well, you were a little too young for it. I'm sorry.
Oh.
And the network had a lot to say, too. Joan Fontaine had won an Oscar for Alfred Hitchcock's Suspicion in 1942, playing opposite Cary Grant, which, interestingly enough, that's the only Academy Award for a performance in any Alfred Hitchcock movie. Of all the movies he made, nobody else won an Academy Award except Joan Fontaine, which I thought was pretty interesting. She had also debuted in 1940 in Rebecca, opposite Laurence Olivier. So she had a real background. She was born in England, had kind of that British sophisticated air, and was really perfect.
Didn't she have a sister in the business?
Yes, Olivia de Havilland, who was a major film star herself. And the two of them never really got along much beyond childhood, and they had this competitive thing going all the time. The fact that Joan Fontaine won her Oscar before Olivia de Havilland won hers was a big problem.
Gee.
Yeah, so that was a lifelong thing. And she didn't really talk about that much on the set. But I thought Joan Fontaine was absolutely lovely, very classy, and was perfectly cast, actually, opposite Linda Pearl, who came in to play the part of Shalane Victor.
Linda Pearl was in town for about a week in Santa Barbara.
Just here, yeah.
She was at the Libero Theater. At the Ensemble Theater.
Doing a one-woman show?
Yeah. We had some friends come up and said that she was just fabulous. She was a great actress.
Yeah, I found her really spot on all the time. I actually worked with her later in another Aaron Spelling production, Robin's Hoods.
So Aaron must have really liked her.
Yeah, well, she was a real, dependable, attractive performer. So, also in Dark Mansions, Michael York was brought in. He's a guy who he's done so many movies. He came right off of doing Romeo and Juliet, the Franco Zeffirelli film. He'd also been in Three Musketeers and Cabaret, Logan's Run, Island of Dr. Moreau. So to get him to be in a television movie was a big deal at the time. Also an English guy, very classy. The director of Dark Mansions, Jerry London, had come off of Shogun, which was one of the biggest miniseries of all time.
And you just spoke with him just not too long ago.
Jerry and I had lunch a couple of weeks ago. He's still very active, working on his next project.
Need to interview him.
We will. Yeah, Jerry's a very articulate guy about his craft. Also on the cast of Dark Mansions, Nicolette Sheridan, Lois Chiles, who had come off of The Way We Were opposite Robert Redford. The script went through a lot of rewrites based on cast, and what was fascinating was I had never been involved in audience testing. So after we shot the show, and most of the locations took place at the American Film Institute, Greystone, up in Beverly Hills off of Doheny, where I'd gone to the American Film Institute. So I knew the location really well. It's a huge stone mansion.
So in terms of budget, was that considered a low-budget movie, TV show, because the location was basically in one place?
Nothing Aaron Spelling ever did was low budget. If anything, it was excessively high budget.
So you were just the writer on this show?
I was titled as one of the producers. There were actually 8 producers on the show.
That's a lot.
I think that sometimes too many chefs can spoil the stew.
But do they all get involved, or is it just name only?
Well, Doug Kramer, one of Aaron's partners, was involved as executive producer. There was an associate producer, Shelley Hull. Bob Justman was the line producer, a really experienced guy, come up through the ranks from the Directors Guild. Jerry London, the director, had a producer credit.
Oh,
really? I had a
really?
producer credit.
Is this all negotiated before the show starts to shoot?
Well, I think that, yes, you're
I think
right.
that's crazy.
Well, but everybody wants more money.
But Jerry London was a director. Was he not just happy being the director? Did he have to produce? Same thing with you. You wrote it. Did you have to have a producing credit? Is there more money?
There's more money. There's
okay.
more money.
I forgot.
And you get, as a producer, nobody can say get him off the set like they tried to do to me on Hollywood Wives. But, Duke Vincent was a supervising producer. A lot of people involved. And again, a big cast. There's, the Nolan Miller wardrobe. All that has to be approved. All the art direction. So the show is shot, and it was a great shoot.
And how did you feel about the show?
I thought the show was fabulous because it was beautifully acted. The story was a ghost story, but it was, we had worked on the script a lot, and everything pretty much made sense if you buy into the concept of the spirit world and different dimensions and things like that. But it was all done in performance. Melissa Sue Anderson played a blind girl, and she was Noelle Drake was her character name.
Melissa Sue Anderson, was that from
Little House on the Prairie?
And you casted her as a bad person?
No, she was good.
Oh, okay.
But she was kind of psychosomatically blind in the story.
Sure.
But she had visions, and she could see through people and see the truth of them. Long story short, the script worked well enough for ABC to approve it, for Aaron to say, yes, this is the go, for all the cast to buy into it. We love it. Jerry London, who's a real critic of scripts, after all, he's the director. He thought it was a great script. We go off and shoot the thing. We spend $2 or $3 million, and we wind up with a finished film. Now, for some reason, and I don't know why, ABC said, let's test this, because they were seeing it as a pilot. They were thinking about going to series, kind of doing a Dark Shadows for nighttime audience. You remember Dark Shadows was a huge daytime soap hit. So they go to this place on Sunset Boulevard called Audience Studio Research.
Had you ever had a show tested like this? You
Never,
personally?
Never. Everything I was kind of spoiled. Everything I'd written got shot, got on the air, and generally was pretty much a hit. So they decided to test Dark Mansions because they're really trying to figure out how many episodes to commit to. Aaron wanted a 22-episode commitment. And the network is thinking, well, maybe we'll give you a 13-episode commitment, which was much more common. But Aaron, being Aaron, wanted the full commitment and kind of rolling dice here. So they take this thing to ASR, and you remember we went there and we sat in the back row with Aaron and Duke.
It was a big deal.
Aaron, Duke, Doug Kramer, and the public. The public gets invited to these things kind of at random. They literally had people in those days standing on Sunset Boulevard handing out tickets, trying to get people to come in and see this. So we had an audience full of people, about 200 people, and everybody's wired up. They have little kind of twisty dials, and if you like it, turn it to the right. If you don't like it, turn it to the left. And we're watching the show, and about 20 minutes into it, remember what was happening?
People were laughing.
People were laughing.
In the wrong spots.
Right. And it's supposed to be scary, and they're laughing. And Aaron is looking around nervously.
It was so horrible.
He and Duke just get up, and they go out into the lobby to have a cigarette. And you and I are looking at each other. You're squeezing my hand really hard. And we kind of realize...
I remember leaning over and saying, is this supposed to be funny?
Well, you knew it wasn't supposed to be funny.
I know, but I didn't know if I had...
If you'd missed something.
Missed something.
So we're getting more and more anxious, and by the end of the show, I think people clapped while they were laughing because they had such a good time watching what they thought was a put-on. And you and I walk out into the lobby, and that's where people are filling out cards, and the audience is writing down their comments. And Aaron looks at me and says, the script didn't work.
Oh.
Like it was my fault. So, what happens? Blame always kind of rolls downhill.
So was it a positive review? Or
it was horrible.
No, they actually wrote it was horrible?
It was horrible.
Oh, they didn't say it was funny, we enjoyed it. They said it was
stupid.
Funny and stupid.
Yeah. Oh. And then
I remember.
And the next morning, of course, in Hollywood Reporter and Daily Variety, out come the critics, who were also in the audience. And
I do remember that.
We got hammered. And who took the heat for that? Oh, whoever wrote the script.
You did. Bad writing.
Yeah, the script was terrible, and what was this writer thinking, and who is Robert McCullough? His career is over. And I couldn't get Aaron to answer my phone call the next day.
Isn't that a shame?
And I called his office. Of
course, you were like the golden boy.
I was the golden boy, and then I was suddenly the bad boy. And
you were like the plague.
And it just was a real lesson in Hollywood reality.
Because up until that point,
I was hot. When you're hot, you're hot.
And when you're not, you're not.
Exactly. And that was probably my greatest failure. And the rest of my term contract at Spelling, I didn't write anything else. I wasn't given any other assignments.
Ouch.
I had a number of pilot pitches I tried to develop with them, and they just weren't listening.
So do you think it's because that Aaron and Doug Kramer no longer had confidence in you, or is it because everyone else didn't as well?
No, I
the
think
networks.
No, I don't think it was a network problem at all. I think it was an Aaron, Doug, Duke problem. They said, "Oh my God, this guy suddenly has the patina of failure on him.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get him out of here as fast as possible." And that's pretty much what happened. And maybe in subsequent podcasts, we'll talk about where I went after that. But I was basically dead in the water.
I remember that.
We got rid of the limo really fast.
Yes, we did. I stopped buying so many clothes.
Right.
So were you depressed?
Well, I was shocked because,
After the shock wore off,
it's
were
like
you
you're
depressed?
It's like you're dating. I thought we had something going here, babe, And then suddenly the girl's not returning your phone calls.
So you are at the time with the biggest agency in the world.
Creative Artist Agency.
What did your agent say? Because I'm sure he was in the audience.
Well, they kind of went the way of the network and Aaron Spelling, which was, let's move on. Bob may not be able to cut it anymore. Now, you got to remember.
It's over one show.
I was a young guy. Yeah, over one show. But it was a huge, it was a big show.
We are going to talk about this show that I'm about to bring up later, but I would have thought that you thought that Tag Team was your biggest disappointment and failure.
No, well, that had nothing to do with me, and nobody said it was the script.
We'll get into that
That
one
was
too.
a political nightmare that we can talk about, yeah. That deserves its own podcast because that was a little different. This was creative, and again, the lesson was that, boy, the one you think is your greatest supporter can turn on you in an instant. Kind of like dealing with, handling rattlesnakes,
I'm sure the actors, the main stars, felt the same way. So disappointed.
Everybody was disappointed because Joan Fontaine, Michael York, Linda Pearl, they'd all been signed to option deals. They were expecting to go to series and have, the 3 or 4 year run, which is the biggest way to make money in television.
And the biggest way to become well known for other future projects.
Yeah. So aside from the script, everybody loved the show, but the script was the problem.
Sure.
Aaron just turned around and said, "Hey, it's the script." Well, crud. Why did you shoot the thing if the script wasn't good?
Do you think the show would have been a hit if it hadn't been tested?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Paul Shinar and Michael York were wonderful opposite each other, both phenomenal actors.
So what does that tell you, just because it's tested? It's kind of like a jury, I would think.
I think part of the problem in the show, frankly, and I don't know who did the music, but I think the music was a little over the top.
Oh, now you're going to blame
I'm blaming
the guy in the music.
Hey, who's not around? Who can I blame, right?
Right. You see how that goes?
All right.
Oh, you busted.
Guilty as charged.
Anyway, before we wrap up.
It was the transportation captain.
Yeah. And you can't blame me. I didn't come up with the story.
Oh, yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. I didn't cast you, right?
Exactly. If I had been in there. But before we wrap this up, I noticed that in one of our categories on our website, you did Celebrity Classic. You did Jonathan Winters.
Yeah, he was a cool guy.
And he has left us.
Yeah, sadly.
And he was a neighbor of ours, and he was very prominent in Montecito, Santa Barbara.
Oh, for sure. No, he was, listen, we weren't what I would call personal friends, but he would recognize me anywhere I bumped into him, and he would say, come here, and he would pull something out of his pocket and begin a performance. He would turn a pocket change into an absolute epic comedy performance. If I bumped into him at the bank or the post office or at the San Ysidro Pharmacy having a Sunday breakfast, you could depend on him to entertain wherever he was.
Anyway, for those of you who don't know the name Jonathan Winters, he was a genius of a comic, and he never was not a comic.
He was the inspiration, I think, for Robin Williams and Jim Carrey.
Sure.
I mean, he was the master of extemporaneous
I just know that you used to come home after coming from the market or from the library or wherever you were with the kids, and you were always laughing.
He'd have me in tears. I just want to take a moment to give a plug to one of our podcast listeners who's been working hard as a stand-up comic in the Chicago area. His name is Ramsey Weiss. That's RamzySweis. Ramsey's been nominated for good things at Will Ferrell's website, funnyordie.com, and has been called an American Idol for comedians. Ramsey's been referred to as a comics comic and has a ton of videos featuring his stand-up routines on YouTube, on his Facebook page, and on his LinkedIn pages. Now, I know his routines are family fare, so he could be a future sitcom star. Who knows? So check him out. Have some laughs on his website at ramseysweiss.com.
And just as a reminder to our growing audience of listeners, be sure to check out our website at wherehollywoodhides.com for show notes, photos, and the latest in showbiz news. And please click on to our Amazon banners to take you directly to the world's biggest online shopping mall. I love it. I keep doing all my shopping through there, and love getting stuff in the mail. So whatever you're looking for books, movies, pet supplies, shoes, it's at Amazon.com. And the links at wherehollywoodhides.com are the quickest way to do your shopping.
So that's it for episode 13. My name is Bob McCullough.
And my name is Suzanne Herrera McCullough.
And we will see you next time.
Ciao.
From Chilicombes and Paducas with their bazookas to get their names up in lights.
All armed with photos from local rotos, with their hair in ribbons and legs in tights. Hooray for Hollywood! You have no way of knowing who'll make good.
Maybe you'll be another Papa Dion, your name in neon. If you get lucky, you could. Yes, buddy, you'll arrive if you can top his 5. Hooray for Hollywood!
Hooray for Hollywood!